Good evening. We're going to go ahead and get started. We may have some more people that trickle in. Hopefully we do. I understand we're not used to meeting in the theater, that we usually do this in the cafe or the team room, but we thought this was the right setting for this tonight. So I'm Scarlett Grantham. I'm your athletic director. Some of you I've met, some of you I have not, but I'm excited to be here at Parkview, and I'm very excited tonight to introduce the next leader of our football program, Mr. Adam Clack.
Oh man, thank you all for being here. I know it's, what is it, Wednesday? I can't keep my day straight right now. 6 o'clock on a Wednesday. I know there's a lot of other things to be doing, but I really appreciate you being here. I think it's really important that we hear the same messages. And that's one reason we're even filming this tonight, because I know people are, got other things going on, and that's okay. But that's kind of part of what I want to hopefully bring to the community. One voice, one vision, one mission that is all about building this program, as you see right here, that are going to help us build young men of integrity, that is going to go out and lead our community, make differences in the world. Let this sport of football be the vehicle that can make the impact in their life. And so tonight's just more of an introduction. I just kind of want to share my story a little bit with you, because it really is unique in kind of how we got to here. And I think hopefully you'll get the feeling that I have of why we're here together. And just the backstory and all of that stuff. So starting out, I grew up in the 90s. I grew up in Winder, right, just next door. And that was when, Gwinnett County was really going through their boom. And I remember, seeing the rise of Parkview and the rise of Brookwood, and they were kind of the staples of what you strive to be. As a kid from the sticks, I'm looking over here. I'm like, man, that's something special. Matter of fact, in third grade, one of my first wrestling tournaments I ever wrestled at was right in that gym over there. So that was kind of my first experience with Parkview. Fast forward, I played a lot of baseball. I was a three-sport athlete: baseball, wrestling, football. Never beat Mountain Park at anything. Fast forward, now I'm in high school. As a matter of fact, and I was talking with the paper. What's his name? Will Hammond. And we're talking through this, and he goes, "Hey, I remember writing about you in 1997." I said, "Oh wow, you're back from those ages." And I remember I had a really good game against Brookmar, like really good game. And my picture was in the Gwinnett paper, talking about it. Well, the next week we're playing Parkview at home. Guess who didn't make it to the second half? This guy. All right, I'm guarding Jeremy Myers. He's guarding me. He's the big shot going to Georgia Tech. Like, we knew all about him. He gets an interception. Next thing I know, Justin Gotze peels back, knocks me out of the game. End up meeting Justin Gotze in college. I went to Georgia Southern. And end up just having a lot of friends in common, a lot of guys from the area, got to know it well. I came back here. I remember being, I believe it was 2002, when Parkview played Brookwood for the state championship. It might have been 2002, 2001. And I'm there with those guys watching that game. So again, there's a deep appreciation, really borderlining on jealousy my whole life, of what this Paul meant to me. Fast forward, all right, now I'm kind of getting into my coaching career. I started coaching while I was in college. I was at in Statesboro, like I said, Southeast Bullock, is where I kind of found my love for coaching. Graduated, was able to hook up in Forsyth County. I'm at South Forsyth, and this new school was opening up, West Forsyth, and I really wanted to get over there. Brand new school. Kind of cool idea. Let's go start something. I send some emails out. Hear nothing. Well, I'm at a wrestling tournament. I'm coaching wrestling at that time, and I'm talking to my old head coach. And I'm like, man, I'd really like to get over to West Forsyth. He goes, well, just so happens Dennis Strami is going to be the athletic director. You remember Dennis Strami, who built the Parkview wrestling program? I'll give him a message. Next week, email bounces back. I'm in for an interview. Boom, I'm at West Forsyth. Dennis Strami becomes one of my greatest mentors of my life. To this day, as I was contemplating, am I going to come interview for this? He's the first person I call. His son, Steven Strami, becomes one of my best friends in my life. When I leave West Forsyth and go to Milton, he was the one I took as my assistant head coach. So the relationships go deep. And it was that relationship, as I'm making my ascension in kind of in my coaching career in 2014, he puts in a word to Coach Whitley and says, hey, this young man would like to interview for a head coaching job. My first interview for a head coaching job was in 2014 for Parkview. And this blueprint that I put together here, that was the motivation that I had to finally put my ideas on paper. I didn't deserve that job. I made it to the short list. It was me, Eric Godfrey, and Sean Calhoun. We all know Coach Godfrey. Coach Calhoun is the head coach at Colquitt County right now, and myself. So pretty good company to be on. And talking with Coach Whitley the other day, I was like, man, you made the right choice. I was not ready at that moment to take over this program. I was young. I had a lot of good ideas, but I hadn't run a big program yet. I would have probably caved under the pressure at that time. However, that door closed, and unexpectedly, my head coach steps down at West Forsyth, and now I'm ready for that interview, and I get that job, and I get my first break into being a head coach. For 3 years, I was the head coach at West Forsyth, made a lot of mistakes, learned a lot, had a lot of support. It was a perfect place for me to be. And we started having success there, and I had the idea against a lot of advice. I was like, you know what? I know we've beat them every time we've played them, but I see something over in that Milton community. I'm going to put my hat in the ring for that job. And so we go from West Forsyth, we go to Milton in 2017, a team that had won 3 playoff games in 50 years. And as I'm interviewing, I basically say, look, I see something here. I think I have solutions to the problems that other people aren't solving. I think we can make this a national brand. They looked at me like I had 5 heads. I was like, dude, we ain't won a playoff game in forever. Well, what are you talking about? But I saw something. And I felt that I was equipped to actually solve those solutions and go in and build the support and have the support to get it done. And we did some special things there. Fast forward 5 years later, I always had aspirations, dreams of chasing, getting to the college level, getting to the professional level, going into the 2021 season, preseason number 1, preseason number 2. Me and my wife are talking, still remote from COVID at that time. And she's like, now's the time in our life. If you want to make that jump, we could do this. I would support it. So I knew going into the season I was stepping down after. And as a matter of fact, the last game I was ever a head coach in, I happened to lose to Miss Grantham and the Collins Hill Eagles, Travis Hunter and those guys. So that's kind of a little story and connection between she and I. Fast forward, I step down. I catch on at the University of Charlotte, year there, defensive assistant. Sure enough, head coach gets fired in October. So now we're like, wait, where are we going to go now? What are we going to do? We're just getting in. We're trying to work our way up. Well, an opportunity comes that was really cool, and I couldn't pass it up. I went over and coached in the European League of Football, and I was the offensive coordinator for the Paris Musketeers. So we're going 21 to 22. Now we're into 23, and we come back home. It's a 6-month deal. It's a summer league. And I realized, I've kind of had that opportunity to chase that. I would have always regretted it. I knew I would if I didn't make my opportunity to do that. And now that I've kind of been there, I was like, man, I'm not 25 anymore. I don't want to drag my wife around and chase these bad jobs. Her job was back in Alpharetta. They're going back to the office. But I still was searching. My entire adult life, I had been a high school teacher, a high school coach, and I'd always had my eyes on something else. I was always looking for the next job to get to these places. And I didn't just want to run right back to what I knew. I felt like I was still looking for something, still searching. I mean, some people may call it a midlife crisis. I don't know. I didn't feel like I was in crisis mode. But I knew I didn't want to just run right back because I felt if I didn't explore other options, I would be in the same position 5, 6, 7 years down the road. So last year, year and a half, I've been working as a private trainer. I started working with a quarterback academy called Trent Different QBIQ system. Learned a lot about how I would now take that. It was really just a better way of teaching football IQ, and he hired me on as a consultant, trying to help me get it into high schools. And I'm like, man, you're missing something. This is something that you could take all the way down to your 6th grade, your 5th grade. You could really connect a program with this, and that's something a lot of head coaches are struggling with. And I took that system and I started working with like some middle school guys this year. 7th grade, the Milton 7th grade team, the 6th grade team. We live right across the street. And it was right. It was a really, really successful thing with those guys, connecting the high school down to the youth. Also started my own private companies. I started a company with flag football, fastest growing sport in the world. I probably trained more female athletes this last year than I did male athletes. And I see this kind of wave of flag football coming as it's now a scholarship sport. Our first camp we did, 9 girls got scholarship offers. We were at Life University, and we're starting that, and we're building that. Started my own academy, the Adam Clack Football Academy. And I'm thinking to myself, I don't want to just do a bunch of training because I do see myself being on the sidelines again one day. I don't know when. So I really want to get into what I'm passionate about, and that's leading coaches, that's teaching leadership, that's helping people with program development. Because of strengths of strengths, I feel like that's kind of where I separated as we were building through this and through my journey. There's a lot of good guys who can run drills. There's a lot of good guys who can talk offensive and defensive scheme. But I felt that there was a missing link out there about being able to really go deep into how you build culture, how you manage your staff, how you develop your staff, how you build a program that doesn't just win, but it makes the real impact that we're looking for in these young men. Because I look at high school football a little different now than college and pro. It really is more about what we're getting out of the greater good, because we're going to have a group of 100. And if we're lucky, we might have 4 or 5 in that group that can actually pay for their college, or that they can actually make a living doing that. It's really more about developing these young men with the tools and the values that I believe this sport is equipped to teach. So we started doing that, and these are some of my partners there that are helping me with that. The highlight of my year was helping my buddy coach his kindergartner there in the K1 Flag League, and we made it to the championship, came up just short. So I'm a little upset about that still. It stings. But I'm sitting and I'm thinking, I'm just building these. I'm really not ready to come back yet. I'm trying to kind of figure out what's next. I'm trying to get singularly focused and build these things and not just kind of go from one to the next. And sure enough, I'm sitting there January 15th and a job opens. And something just was itching at the back of my neck, like, why did that job just open? And I look at my wife and I said, what would you think about Parkview? She said, man, you are all over the place. Well, a day later, I get a voicemail, and it's Coach Grantham. Probably took 2 days to get back to her. I'm thinking, I don't know if I'm really ready to do this just yet. Let me think on it. Start doing some research. Why is the job open? Who is she? Start talking to one of my favorite people in the world, which was my athletic director at Milton. And one thing that I would say is a non-negotiable for me if I'm ever going to come in and work in a program is the administration has to be strong, and they have to be aligned, and they have to share a vision of wanting to support these young men and put into them what I'm willing to put into them. And when I asked him about her, quote unquote, she's a rock star. All right, well, let's talk. So we talk a little bit. She's in Montana about this time and talking about coming and meeting with her and Principal Smith, and she gets back, and then the weather comes in, and You know, it was just one reschedule after another, and then finally she goes, look, are you serious? Are you really thinking about this? And I was like, I wouldn't be talking to you if I wasn't. I do have a lot of questions. I don't have to have this right now. I've got other things going on. I've got to be certain. So when we come to talk, I want to make sure that we are 100% aligned and see this the same way, because if it ain't the right fit, I'm not the right guy. She said, that's fair. So I think it was Wednesday or Thursday 2 weeks ago. Thursday 2 weeks ago. We come in and we spend 3 hours in that office. And I was already doing my homework. And I'll be honest, I heard a lot of people that I respect who have ties back here. I wouldn't do it at them. I ain't saying, support's not there. I don't know. Okay. Well, then I talked to a few more people who are outside of that, who are in the community now or have recently been in the community. And I heard a completely different story. No, it's there. You just got to have the right vision. Somebody's got to come in and connect it. Somebody's got to come in and engage it. But if you engage it, it's there. Okay? That gave me a lot of belief right there that, maybe these people that I'm talking to who were, there 20 years ago are living in an echo chamber maybe with each other, and they're not really seeing it with new eyes. We're kind of romanticizing the past. So when I come and talk with Coach Grantham and Principal Smith, I had a lot of questions. One of the first one and one of the biggest one I asked is, sell me this school. And he started going down a list. Grades, discipline, community. There's pride here. And that meant a lot. And every question that I had, they had great answers for, and I started feeling good. Okay, and I'm feeling pretty good walking out of that meeting, and, not there yet. But we start walking this campus. We start walking the field. And chills start coming on my arm because I'm like, dude, this is still, there's something here. It's still Parkview. It's still the Parkview that I was jealous of. It's still the Parkview that when I tell my friends who kind of follow and follow along, they're like, what, Parkview? So it's still there. There's still a pedigree here. There's still something to stand on and build from. And I wanted to sleep on it for a little bit longer. I wasn't ready to accept that day. I didn't want it to be an emotional decision. But I knew with the support that she said that she was willing to give me, with the ability that we can build to what I need to build to. I have 3 criteria. Can I get the support I need? Do I believe I can make it a winner? And then the other one is, my wife ain't moving, so can I drive there? That one boxes you in pretty good. And I started getting the feeling that I think I see the path. I think I understand why those red flags are red right now. And I think that I am the right person at the right time in the right moment to help us solve these problems and make this a program that the state of Georgia will be jealous of again, and the nation will have to take note of. So on that Saturday, I called her and I accepted this job. And on Monday, I got to meet your young men. And from there, we've been on the ground running every day, trying to meet as many people as I can, trying to get in front of these guys, because there's 3 things that we've got to do to make this go in the direction we want to do. Number 1, we've got to win that locker room first. I've got to get the staff, the men around them, which is the most important thing I can do for them, is surround them with great men who share my vision and are willing to pour into them and follow the path that I set out, but then help us together guide them down that trail. Second thing we got to do, we got to get into that park, and we've got to engage that middle school and engage, and we got to take Mountain Park back and make it to where there's nowhere else we would ever want to be, which is part of my path, part of my last year. Building these entities out, which are basically can be extensions of my coaching staff. When I really started to learn about how tight the cluster system is in Gwinnett County, I mean, this is perfect. I don't have to chase people all over multiple parks. I don't have to chase people all over multiple middle schools. they're right here. We can connect with them and we can give them opportunities to meet us, learn us, hear from us, and develop as young athletes who are going to want to be a part of this program. And then part 3, we've got to engage this. We've got to engage this, and that's what I want to talk about a little bit later tonight. So, how do we get there? All right, how do we get there? Next slide. I basically have a blueprint of how I want to build a program that will go with me wherever I go. It wouldn't matter if I was taking over a company. It wouldn't matter if I was taking over a lacrosse team. It wouldn't matter if I'm taking over a football team. There's a blueprint to building teams that I believe in, that I've studied my entire life. I've built to this, and I've been able to do it once, and I can do it again. And it starts with casting a vision, and that's kind of why I wanted to be in this setting tonight. The first thing you're going to hear out of my mouth is building men of integrity, because that is what this program will stand on. The second thing we've got to do is we then have to build our leadership teams, and there's 4 of them that comprise a football program, and I'll speak to those later. And then lastly, obviously, we will implement the strategies and the tools and the systems to get those things to take root and to make sure that the vision that we cast is what we are and what we believe and how we behave. And there's a lot of different ways, not for tonight, that we have built throughout that we will be able to do that. So starting on casting that vision, as we talked about earlier, building men of integrity, that's the tagline. That's not a tagline. That's the purpose statement. It's something we're always striving to. We won't know when we get there. We'll know kind of when our story's over if we live that life. But the way we get there is through our values and through how we behave. And, early on in my career, as I'm trying to get right answers with all this stuff, and I'm reading this and I'm putting this down, I remember, and in that book right there, I had 20 standards. And I'm like, man, they all sound good, and I'll believe every one of them. But if somebody said, what's standard 17? I'd be like, I don't know. You read it to me? So somewhere along the line, I was like, there's basically 3 buckets. There's 3 buckets that if we can achieve this, not only will we have the ability, as long as the strategies and systems and all that stuff matches up, but we will have the ability to be a great football team, have the ability to be great at anything that we do, have the ability to go out from football and take these and be able to live a life of integrity. And those 3 standards are band of brothers, relentless effort, and competitive toughness. Now, those are kind of phrases, so let's break them down a little bit. The first one, band of brothers, that just means being in a team. The number 1 trait Fortune 500 companies are looking for when they're going out to hire new employees, can they work in a team? Can they work in a team setting? And in today's age, where we call it connectivity, I think we're more disconnected than we've ever been. This is why I think team sports, football for me, it could be drama for somebody else. Being a part of something bigger than yourself and learning how to work within that is one of the most important things that we can do for these young men and young women in our community, being a part of a team. Step 2, relentless effort. That's all about our work ethic. It's all about our work ethic. Again, in the microwave society and age that we live in, where if it's hard, it's not good. If my Netflix buffers one more time, I'm going to throw my remote against the wall. It's harder than ever to teach someone how to have a long-term goal and then to step back and work daily with incremental gains, delaying instant gratification as you are in pursuit of that goal. Because nothing in life worth a darn comes easy, and I think we all know that. So we're going to teach them how to work. We're going to teach them that what's good you must earn, and we'll do that together. And then lastly, probably my favorite, competitive toughness. That has nothing to do with, being tough, being hard. It has everything to do with being tough and being hard in here. If working in a team is the number 1 trait that Fortune 500 companies are looking for, the number 1 skill that most successful people have in common, they have a hard time deciding exactly what they want to call it, but most of us would call it grit, or we would call it resilience. But at the end of the day, it's about falling down, learning from that, and getting back up and going again. If we can teach them to do that through football, because there is a lot of opportunity to do that, and we can connect those three things, we're going to have a shot to be pretty good, not only on the field, but we're going to have a shot to be pretty good in life. And this is what we will stand on. Like a coffee filter, everything that goes through it goes through this. Anything that goes into our program, I stress test it against this first. If it doesn't fit, we throw it out. If it doesn't align, we throw it out. Anything that makes it through it, we make sure we find ways to reconnect back to it so they understand the purpose of what we're doing. And it could be something as simple as running stadiums. This is building our relentless effort. It can be something as simple as playing tug of war in the summer. This is competitive toughness. It can be something as simple as, hey, we're going out and we're going to work with the church and we're going to serve the needy today. We're building that server's heart. That's going to teach us how to work in a team. Everything will filter through that and attach back to. So the next piece, how do we get there, right? Words and slogans and all that is all well and good, but nothing really gets driven without leadership. Leadership is the secret sauce to all of this. And we lead in different ways, and leaders are made, and they come in all shapes and sizes. And some people are better suited to be followers. Well, hell, that's just the first leader, in my opinion. But it's all through leadership. And so the next thing we do is we set out and we start building our leadership teams. Like I said, there's 4 of them as it comprises a football program. Those 4 are the administrative staff, the booster club, the coaching staff, and the players. Me, the head coach, I can only touch about 15 to 20 people at one time. There's 150, 250, however wide you want to get this lens, this thing is big. So if we really want to get behind this and do this, we've got to form leadership teams in different areas that are all on the same line and all on the same vision. And it's my job as the head coach to be the one in the middle, making sure that we're doing what we're supposed to be doing and we're carrying out the vision that we're setting, and that we're soliciting the feedback to get to adapt and to make the alternate decisions that we'll need to do to handle the problems that come. So as we talk about the performance side really quickly, their job is to perform. Everything I want them to do is built around how do we best perform. Your job is to get results. Now, we're not just talking about the scoreboard. When I think of performance, I think of how we behave. I think of how we represent the brand that we represent. What are we proud to see this team and these coaches wear orange and blue and the paw on our chest? That's really important. Because if that doesn't happen, if we don't do what we're supposed to do in the classroom, in the hallway, on the field, well, that then starts to spill over into my other leadership teams, and they can't do their jobs because they're worried about our jobs. So that's what we've got to focus on. The next piece is our organizational and procedural. Our job is to make it to where all they have to do is worried about performing. When we build to it, we'll be taking an out-of-state trip every year. When we go to California, or we go to Philadelphia, or we go to the moon, I don't care. All I want those coaches and players worried about doing is showing up and playing ball. That's a lot of work. That's a lot of work. When I've got to go out and find the most important resource that you have for your young men, the coaching staff, I've got to have help and alignment from this. That's why the first step in all of this is with that administrative staff. I can't do anything about that. I've got to choose wisely. And I did. So we've got that. We've got that support. We've got people in this school who recognize how important this is, not just because we want to win football games, but because we want to drive a school and we want to connect a community. Which brings me to the last piece. It's like a four-legged stool. If one falls, they all fall. So when it comes to our board, we've got to make sure that we are in a position that we can not only raise the funds, but also encourage and go out and mobilize the volunteerism because it takes a lot. If coaches have to worry about setting the field up, breaking the field down, if coaches have to worry about securing transportation and getting the players fed all the time, guess what they can't worry about doing? Coaching. If players aren't properly equipped, if they don't have the space and the resources to worry about going out to practice and worry about practice and only doing that and then going and playing, they can't perform. So we've got to do a great job of building a board and a group, a collective group that represents what this community is and what this community deserves. We've got to find great officers. We've got to educate and empower them. Once we do that, it's all about delegate, but don't separate. And this is as I coach my coaches. And unfortunately, somewhere along the line, I don't know when, I don't know where. It's not important. There was a connection that got lost. There was a connection that got lost from what built that big, beautiful program in the early 2000s, late 1990s that really was the model for everybody else in North Georgia and Metro Atlanta to follow. Somewhere along the line, that connection got lost. Because great boards, like great teams, they're cyclical. You're training the next man up. It's the quarterback who's pouring into the freshman quarterback. It's the offensive coordinator who's teaching the receivers coach so that when they move on, they already have the answers to the test. They go out and they perform. And there's consistency there. We already know where the pitfalls are. We already know what the best practices are. We go out and we just work on getting better. I don't know where it happened, and it's not important because we're here now and it's my responsibility, and I own it. But as head coaches came and went, and the more research I do, the board fell off somewhere in between. And I want to take a minute right now to make sure everybody hears this. There were some heroic parents who stepped up last year when they saw your head coach doing it basically on his own with two people who didn't even have kids in the program for 20 years trying to run a board by themselves. Those parents stepped up and jumped in and saw a problem and went out to find solutions. And they did a great job. They did an outstanding job. But when a board falls apart, it's not meant to just be picked up by a few brave souls and a few heroic people. It's meant to be reset. It's meant to be reset. The reason I feel that the community is not engaged is I don't think the head coach ever took a minute, and I don't know that, but I don't think that anyone took a minute to get in front of you and say, this is what we need. I need your help if you want this product. If you want what's best for your young men. And so we met the other day, some of the sitting board members and myself, and I thanked them, and I with all of my heart said, you guys were put in a really tough spot, and y'all did everything you could do. But I think what's appropriate in this manner is that we take a step back, and instead of looking that way, we say, look, let's just start fresh. I know what a great board looks like. I know where I can go get help to educate, and I want to have the ability to say, look, this is my vision. Let's do this. Are you with me? Then let's go. And we're going to build a board. It could be with people in this room. It can be with people who were currently sitting on it. I just want to open it up so that anybody who feels it in their heart and feels that they are have the time and commitment to do it, and B, have the skill set to achieve and execute the roles that we have, I want to hear you. I'll form a committee. I want to take in applications, and that's what the QR code is here. And I just want it to be like any other process that should be. We should have an open, transparent opportunity to engage. Because I believe that the help is here. I believe you're hungry to be engaged. And if it's a lot of people who have sat on board before or people who have not, we're going to do our best to select the ones that I feel can drive this ship. And then opposite of that, or not opposite of that, tied to that, they can't do it by themselves either. There's board seats, but then there's committees underneath that really help get that job done. It's going to take us all, guys. It's going to take all of us. And so over the next week, if you feel it in your heart that you would like to be one of those considered to take one of these roles, and this is just where we're starting. This isn't necessarily all the board seats. I just have to get started now because we're running out of time. And we got to get ready because spring is right around the corner and we got to start planning. I've got a lot of ideas. I got a lot of things and great practices that worked at Milton where we raised a $550,000 budget so that we could go out and do the things that we needed to do. We raised a $550,000 budget. We had to pay for our own field house. We were taking trips across the country. We don't even have to get to that right now. But we've got to get moving. We got to get moving. And it isn't just about money. It's about help. It's about volunteerism. It's about giving a little bit of your time because what you get back is going to be tenfold in what you see in your young man. I promise you that. So my call today, my call to action, if you will, is that if you feel like jumping on this boat and helping us go in the right direction, please do so. And even if you don't end up sitting in one of those seats, you're telling me that you're motivated to help. I promise you, we will plug you in and you'll have an opportunity to make an impact. And it'll be one of the best impacts you can make because it's going to be in your young man's life and it's going to be in your community. That's it. So that's all I got for today. Please, within the next week or so, if you're interested, shoot it through that QR code. There's a Google form. We'll try to get that thing. We'll call in those that we kind of work through, and I'll have an opportunity to sit down and talk and make sure we're on the same page. And then we'll start to form that board out. We'll start to form those committees out. And in quick fashion, we'll have the first real parents meeting sometime in March, where we can then start saying, hey, these are the expectations. This is how we're going to move forward. Here's the plan for the year. Here are the events and all of that stuff, because I know a lot of you are definitely wanting to get that information. So the sooner we can get started on this, the sooner we can get in front of you. I promise you it'll be before spring break. Hopefully we'll be ready to call our next parent meeting mid-March. Any questions?
You're going to stick around?
Yeah, I'll stick around. If anybody wants to hang out and talk a little bit, obviously there's a lot of people to know, but it'd be great to shake your hand if you got a little time. But other than that, we'll see you guys around, man. Can't wait to get started.